10 years ago, Georges Gauthier and 3 friends of mine left Saint-Luc, Quebec, the village we grew up in, to look for logging work in British Columbia. They settled in Fort St. James, a small town about 1,000 kilometers north of Vancouver. This is where I joined them in the fall of 1975, looking for logging work myself. Simon Fraser and John Stewart claimed this land for the Northwest Company in 1806. The mountains on either side of the lake reminded Fraser of the region of Scotland where his family came from. This is why he called the territory New Caledonia. New Caledonia stretches from Williams Lake in the south to some 700 kilometers northwards. For hundreds of years, this land has been the home of 4 Indian tribes: the Chilcotins, the Babins, the Sekene, and the Carriers. It was the Carriers that Simon Fraser met upon his arrival at the outlet of Lake Stewart. He gave the following description of this tribe. They are a large, indolent, thievish set of vagabonds of a mild disposition. Not at all convinced by Mr. Fraser's description of the Carriers, I decided to undertake my own discovery of the land and its people. This discovery began with Louis and Giselle.
Quand il est parti, je...
Ah oui.
Pauvre Nial.
Oh, qu'est-ce que c'est?
Il n'aurait pas vécu longtemps. Hein? T'es touché, mon homme, bon vieux. C'est pas trop pire. Pas de grand viande de bon là-dedans. Ici, devant.
Et tu veux t'en le mettre?
On va reculer là-bas. là. Quand ça met là-dessus, là, tiens-le pas qu'il slack, là. Tiens ça pour pas que ça tombe sur toi, là. Il est là.
Two weeks later, Georges and I were headed for Lake Whitefish.
Is it char baiting now? I guess they don't bite.
Oh, they bite.
They do.
Yeah, trouts do.
At Lake Whitefish, we met 3 carriers living there on their hunting grounds. Silver Basil from the Nacosly Reserve, which is next to Fort St. James,
I thought halfway.
George Todd, and Mr. Joseph from Tatchie Village on the north shore of Lake Stewart.
Yes.
From the road or...
From Thatcher.
or
I can't hear it. I'm deaf.
oh,
Both sides I'm deaf.
oh, I see.
Pretty hard to hear. 80-year-old I am. 80 in 5
80.
months.
Still working too?
Hmm?
Still working?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Maybe 1 week I stay here. Snow on the mountain now. Mix up. Tangle up. Every little like lots of trout. And that also got 46. 46. Get out there. You make money and me, I don't get nothing.
We were invited to share their cabin for the night. Later in the evening, they sang songs and told stories of their tribe for us. Early next morning, they were off to pick up their night's catch.
Okay. What kind of fish do you get? Whitefish, trout, char. Trout. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Any kind of fish. Nice wind. Come in.
Then came November. Working in the bush had become very difficult and even dangerous. Every day we would come home soaking wet. When the weather conditions were too risky, we would quit for the day and go hunting. During one of these hunts, we spotted an arrow indicating the presence of 2 graves. This couple had died from the Spanish influenza during the worldwide epidemic of 1918. The carrier population was also decimated by the epidemic, and people died at a rate of 10 to 15 per day. Isaac and Marianne Seymour had walked from their territory far to the north and had come down to Fort St. James to sell their furs. The epidemic had already broken out in Fort St. James, and they were advised to return immediately. However, it was too late. On their way back, they died here in their relay camp by Pinchy Lake. Later, they were found and buried. It was in this very area that we ran across 2 hunters and their mounts. While exploring the wilderness, I often see trumpet swans. These birds were almost extinct at the end of the last century. Today, there are only about 4,000 trumpet swans left, still living in their natural habitat. New Caledonia is home to some 3,000 of them. Here they spend a quiet and secure winter before leaving for Alaska in the spring, where they mate and breed. Adjoining the south part of Fort St. James is the Nicosly Reserve. 88 families live here, forming a total population of 620. According to government statistics compiled by 2 carriers, Harold Prince and Sally Erickson, out of the 88 families, 84 are on national welfare. The Nicosly Reserve has an elected chief, a tribe council, and is independent of the town of Fort St. James. This hotel, built in 1966, is midway between the Nicosly Reserve and Fort St. James. Fort St. James itself is a town of 3,500 people and has all the conveniences of a modern town. Just before Christmas, I went to Tachi Village to see Mr. Joseph. Georges and I had met him at Lake Whitefish. He was at home and greeted me warmly. There I met his son Jimmy, who asked me for a lift to town. On the way, he talked about his experiences during the 5 years he worked on Indian problems in Vancouver. He offered to help me with my film. We decided to meet at Silver Basil's, the younger Indian, who was with the 2 old men at Lake Whitefish. That evening, I found myself sitting around a table in Silver Basil's house, together with Jimmy and 3 other people. I was taking notes and recording songs. The Indians were drinking a little. As they were running short of whiskey, I was asked to go and buy a case of beer. Silver Basil's house is on the Nacosta Reserve, half a kilometer from the hotel. I left my tape on the table and went out. When I came back, Jimmy Joseph had run away with it. I called the RCMP. Sergeant Roger A. Deere made the investigations and allowed me to come along. After questioning some people, the sergeant suspected Jimmy to be in Tachi, where we soon found him. The sergeant told him that if he agreed to give the recorder back and plead guilty, he would not be taken to court. Jimmy accepted and told us where he had hidden it. During his 10 years as a faller, Georges has had a number of serious accidents and several narrow escapes. One day, a young carrier woman introduced me to Mrs. Burney. Mrs. Burney told me about the existence of caves and of drawings located on the north shore of Lake Stewart. These caves were carved out by the waves and, according to Mrs. Burney, were used long ago by the carriers as temporary shelters. She also told me that the carriers had made these drawings. They had resisted erosion over a period spanning hundreds of years. Mrs. Burney explained that the name carrier was given to their tribe by the first English explorers. The old custom was to burn the bodies of the deceased warriors. The widows then carried the few charred bones left among the ashes on their backs. They carried the bones until the members of their clan had collected sufficient quantities of food. This food was then publicly distributed among the people of other clans in the course of a ceremony called potlatch. This ceremony was in fact a pretext for a better distribution of wealth among the Indians. Today, the potlatch ceremony is still carried out, but it has lost its original significance. Mrs. Burney also explained how the carrier people were ruled and exploited by the Hudson's Bay Company. In this context, she mentioned the great chief Quah. He died in the spring of 1840, leaving 4 wives and 16 children. Chief Quah was buried, according to his wishes, at the outlet of Lake Stewart, so he could watch the salmon struggling upstream in the summer. His grave is marked by a sign relating an incident. It involved Great Chief Quah with Sir James Douglas, the first company agent of the newly constructed Fort St. James. It was in 1828. Douglas and his men slaughtered with their axes a carrier Indian suspected of having killed a company employee. The Indian's body was left to a pack of hungry dogs. Chief Qua, infuriated, set out for the fort with his warriors and invaded it. 2 women were to save Douglas's life. Nancy Boucher, a carrier, held back Chief Qua and implored him to spare Douglas. At the same moment, Douglas's wife ran upstairs and threw down many gifts to the menacing warriors. Qua accepted the peace offerings and order was restored. But Douglas could no longer feel safe in the area. He had to be transferred to Fort Vancouver. Around 1850, the fort's stockade was demolished and the cannons removed. The fur trade flourished until the discovery of gold in 1860, which shattered the isolation of the area. The carriers henceforth traded their furs and dried salmon to the Hudson's Bay Company in exchange for manufactured goods and foodstuffs. During this period, the carriers gave up their tents to build log houses under the supervision of French priests. The most famous, Father Maurice. He came to the mission of Lake Stewart in 1885. For a quarter of a century, Father Maurice worked among the carriers, teaching them to read and write. Our Lady of Good Hope, the 3rd oldest church in the province, was built in 1873 and is still being used during the summer months. This small cabin was formerly Father Maurice's workshop. The fort is to be restored to its original state of the turn of the century. Among the dozen buildings that existed at that time, 5 remain. The general warehouse and fur store, the fish catch where the dried salmon bought from the Indians was stored, the men's house, the dairy, and the dwelling house built for the chief agent of the Hudson's Bay Company. North of Tachi, a logging company is in full operation. This company is owned by 3 carriers. It took them 3 years to get their business going. No bank would lend them any money. They finally got a loan from the Department of Indian Affairs, which paved the way for another loan from a local bank. Harry Pierre, vice president, in charge of removing the branches from the trees and cutting the logs at the proper length. Raymond Prince, secretary, who looks after maintenance. And Cecil Martin, both president and loader driver. At the end of March, a medical survey was organized on the Nacosli Reserve by Dr. J.F. Piper for the Department of Health and Welfare. Its aim was to determine the amount of mercury in the carrier Indian's blood. She did not allow me to film the proceedings. However, she did allow me to film the illustration showing how mercury gets into the human body through the food chain. This is my conversation with Dr. Piper.
We have to be sure that whatever is said is accurate if our people are being shown in it. And some people can get the wrong slant on it. So therefore we need to know ahead of time what you're planning to say, what commentary you are going to use along with it. This is the important part to us. And also the meaning of what they're doing. If you have any reference of work you've done previously, I don't know if you're known to our department in the East at all or whatever, well, make reference to that.
Off Lake Pinchy, there is a mercury mine. In 1972, the market for mercury fell. Cominco then shut down the mine. The installations were left untouched, and a guard was hired to watch the grounds. I sneaked in to get a closer look. Soon betrayed by the dogs, I was politely escorted to the gate.
See, we can't allow any picture taking, but how long are you going to be in this country?
Well, 2 weeks yet, I think.
Well,
just on vacation.
you can give me a phone in 2 weeks' time, because we're expecting the boss up from trail, and maybe I can get permission for you.
2 weeks later, I phoned the guard. I was again refused permission to visit the company grounds. On the delta of the Pinchy River, the carriers have lived for hundreds of years. The place offers protection from the north winds, and the lake and the river provide fish all year round. Today, residents of Pinchy still eat fish from the lake, but recently, a few people received bad news. Among them, Ronnie Duncan. He was informed by Dr. Piper not to eat any fish from Lake Pinchy. His blood test for mercury showed 8.1 parts per billion. According to recent scientific studies, 40 to 100 parts per billion can kill a human being. Dr. Piper admitted that no study had been carried out on the relation between the mine and the present high level of mercury in Lake Pinchy. This hospital serves the people of Fort St. James, including the 1,600 carriers of the region.
Well, we had it 2 weeks, and I gave my...
This little girl and her brother had been hospitalized for scabies, which is a contagious skin disease caused by lice.
Must be a kind of allergy.
No, it's a that's going around, eh?
Yeah.
Itchy.
Scabies?
I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
Suzanne can explain to you.
Although many carrier children suffer from scabies, most, in fact, are admitted for respiratory tract infections. The carriers constitute only 1/3 of the total population served by the hospital. However, 3/4 of the patients are carriers. In most cases, the treatments received are for injuries resulting from fighting. On Easter morning, the people gathered together at the Nicosly Reserve's Catholic Church. Many cults are represented in Fort St. James. For the carrier people, trapping has become a hobby. The hides taken from the few trap lines still used are mostly sold to other Indians to be converted into leather. The women make mittens and moccasins out of it. Moose hunting is legal all year round for the Indians. From their hides, they make leather strips called babish, used to plait snowshoes.
All the skin like that?
Oh, the whole skin is creamy. And then it does at least get to be.
Not far from Fort St. James, 3 sawmills employ more than 650 people. 90 of them are carriers. Approximately 100 Hindus also work at these mills. They form a small community in Fort St. James. Their arrival coincided with the building of a large sawmill. They lead a very self-contained life are ignored by white people and, generally, are the object of strong aggression on the part of the carriers. These three teenagers have experienced the breathing of glue odors for some time. With the help of Sheila Erickson, a young carrier woman, I was able to talk with them.
How did you get into sniffing glue?
Guy from the Jacks started. He came here and started sniffing gas, and we got onto glue and that.
Why did you start? How was that?
Just for kicks,
What kind of kicks?
seeing things.
How did you get the glue?
Stole it from stores.
How do you sniff it? How do you...
Put it in our sleeve and in a bag, and then or else we'd put it underneath our coat.
You got some trouble with the police?
Yeah.
You ever been arrested, no?
Oh yeah, I've been to jail.
You've been to jail?
Yeah.
One time?
Yeah, in Prince George.
What happened?
Stealing
Stealing what?
chains and knives.
Have you been long there at the jail?
Yeah.
How many days?
4 hours.
4 hours in the jail.
Yeah.
Have you cried?
Oh, I'm too good.
No? How old are you now?
11?
Are you going to do that for a long time yet? Or?
Nah. No fun.
You get sick sometimes?
You lose your brains if you sniff.
Why do you sniff?
Get high.
In order to prevent robberies, this gate for the last 3 years has locked the entrance of the liquor store. During 1975 in Fort St. James, 650 carriers were arrested for drunkenness and approximately 75 others for assault and battery. In her house, located outside the Nicosly Reserve, Mrs. Burney reminisces.
And it's just after this World War II. Even after my husband came back from the army, there was no welfare for the Indians. It's just in the late 50s that the welfare came to the aid of the Indians. Before that they had to do for themselves. It used to be way better for the young people, you know. It made them go to work, go hunting and trapping. And they used to go to work, they had some cattle, they'd go making hay, and all those things like that. They'd go to work, any kind of job they could get. But now even the young people are getting welfare. And so much of it, what do they do with all that money? Too much drinking, they just drink it all up. They don't, not anymore, they don't go out hunting or trapping or anything like that. They'd rather stay here and drink up the welfare checks. That's about all they're good for. No, it's not. The welfare spoiled a lot of good Indians. They had no business with the Indians. They should have stuck with the whites. Now the whites are quarreling with the Indians about welfare business. The Indians never had welfare all their lives. It's just in the late 50s that the welfare came to the Indians and started working among them.
Harold Prince, assisted by Sally Erickson, is working on a program for drugs and alcohol victims for the Federal Department of Health and Welfare. They visit people and help them solve their drinking problems. Harold lives on the Nicosly Preserve in his father's house, which looks out on Lake Stewart. Harold is an amateur boxer, and he trains every day to keep in shape.
I was just asking Andrew here how long he's been quit drinking. Like usually he's here and he's in the streets and he's looking for some money for some drinks, but now he's cut it off. He's quit for a while. Yeah. And he's decided he's going to quit for a while and he's going to hold it off as long as he can. Yeah. And he can do that. Right. He said he's done it. Have you done it before?
Yeah, I done it before. I done 1 month. Now I want to try to quit altogether.
Nowadays, you just
it costs too much money.
Yeah. So his drinking costs too much money. Yeah. And they just come down here because there's nothing to do at home, so they just come down here and watch people. So it's nice. Yeah. He's happy he doesn't have a problem anymore. This is really good.
No more hangover.
No more hangover.
I don't like that hangover. One thing, I try to beat a hangover. Every time I get hangover, I take some more drink. We try to beat a hangover, but we can't beat a hangover. I guess you could read me.
Well, first of all, I should say I am concerned about the problem because it is a big problem, and that is why I was hired. Not because I wanted to earn the money, but because I am concerned about the people and a lot of children who are growing up and they might get into the same rut as their parents, and it'll continue the drinking pattern that has been with us for the last few years, and it has certainly gotten worse. So if the people don't go back to their own culture, I think they're going to their destiny. It's certainly worthwhile to take time and give your love to the people who are suffering from alcoholism. My feelings is that if we can do something about the alcohol problem, maybe the Indian people can get back part of their pride they have lost. It has gone down the drain with all the liquor that have soaked in. And maybe a little happiness can come back into the pride of our people and the pride of our ancestors and our grandfathers. I am sure that they were not like this. The constant drinking and fighting and hating and all the modern society has given to our people.
For the last 2 years, the Carrier's language and customs are taught in the Fort St. James Public School. At the elementary school, Mrs. Catherine Bird is in charge of the Carrier language courses.
Sa,
Bandada, Caledonia, Nelembin, La Onle, Awet, So, Wasatita. The first song we sang, what does it tell you? That the fish are coming?
Yeah. Let's go check it out.
If the white man came in and understood and tried to learn what the Indians were doing, maybe there wouldn't be so much fighting. You must learn and understand each other's culture in order to live peacefully together. When the white man took the Indian people's culture away, the respect went with it. They started fighting among each other. If the white man understand and try to learn some of the Indian culture, their ways of life, I'm sure there'll be more peace among people. People will be just people, not Indians or whites or any other races. The Indian people never destroyed. There's no way they're going to go out there and kill an animal and leave it there, just take the hide or something. Every bit of that animal was used. They know that was created for people to live on, to nourish their bodies with. It wasn't meant to be killed and left out there because they know somebody is going to punish them for destroying what they. That was a natural thing that they've always had.
Before I left British Columbia, I visited Mr. Joseph once more at home in his village. This song is the same that he sang for George and I at Lake Whitefish on his hunting grounds when we first met him.
Wow.